This is the focal inspection training video for the Illinois field sampling of Varroa mites and data collection project. For the months of June through October 2018, during the second week of each month, apiary inspectors will perform focal inspections throughout the week. Ideally, every apiary inspected during that week will be given a focal inspection. The more apiaries, the better. Minimally, 8 apiaries should be inspected with the focal inspection protocol. Priority is given to apiaries with 8 or more hives, so try to include your bigger beekeepers during this focal time point. In this video, we will outline the steps of the focal inspection. You will find that it's not much different from your regular inspection routine, but you'll need a few extra materials. You'll need an easy check mite washer, with the yellow top, plenty of rubbing alcohol, a catch pan for shaking bees off of a frame, and optionally a 1/2 cup measuring cup to scoop 300 bees into the mite washer. The mite washer has inner markings to help you approximate 300 bees, so you may be able to do this without the measuring cup. When you arrive at an apiary, randomly select the 4 hives for your focal inspections. If time will not allow for 4, select 2. Methods for keeping it random and mixing up the way you select hives could be flipping a coin, rolling dice, or you could rotate through a series of patterns. First apiary, you could select every other colony, and at the next, every third colony, and then double back if necessary. Just do something to try to keep it random so you're not just selecting the first colony you run into at every apiary. You get the idea. If a colony is clearly queenless or on the verge of collapse, however, randomly select another colony. Then, perform a regular inspection as you normally do with your day-to-day inspections, noting the queen status, brood pattern and condition of adult bees, food stores, and the presence of diseases. You will record this information on the field sheet. The field sheet was designed to be as simple and straightforward as possible. You'll only need 1 sheet per apiary. It is double-sided. Side A is for collecting your standard inspection information, and side B is for your beekeeper interview. We'll talk more about this later. Start by recording the number of deeps, the number of mediums, and the number of shallow supers. To record seams of bees or frames of bees, you can reference this disease load monitoring frames of bees example sheet that's included in a packet. It explains how to count frames of bees by looking at the top and the bottom of the colony. For example, in this colony, without taking out any of the frames, we can look down between the frames and estimate how many frames are covered in bees. For example, this one is a frame of bees. However, to get a full picture, we need to look under the colony. This allows us to see how many frames have bees coming down all the way to the bottom of the frame and adjust our estimate based on that. For example, we see that in that frame, the bees don't appear to come all the way down to the bottom of the frame, so we would probably record that as half a frame. So to count frames of bees in this deep box, we can go through and see that this frame on the edge has 1 frame of bees, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But as we look carefully, we can see that this frame on the very edge and these 2 on the other side only are about halfway covered. So we need to subtract 3 halves, 1.5 from that 10. And so we would estimate this box as having 8.5 frames of bees. And to verify that, we can then tilt the colony up, or tilt the boxes up. And see if all those frames actually have bees going down all the way to the bottom. And without taking too long, we can see that for the most part, most of them do. And the others that we counted as only halves don't, and we've already subtracted that, so that's okay. We can then go ahead and do that same rating with the lower deep and any other boxes that are around. This frame though, for example, we see only has bees on one side of it. And so that should, even from the start, be considered only to be a half a frame. This frame next to it, while it has some bees running around on it, you can see all the way down to the bottom through there in the majority of the area. And so we're not gonna count that at all. That's not a frame of bees. Those are just bees that happen to be over there. So for this one, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 frames of bees. For rating the laying pattern of the brood, you can refer to the Bee Informed Partnerships brood pattern sheet. This rates brood pattern from 0 to 5. 0 meaning there's no brood, 1 a very spotty pattern, all the way to a 5, which is complete coverage. This frame, for example, looks very good, but does have some spots missing in it. So we can call this a 4. We flip it over to the other side and we rate it about the same, also a 4. When rating the brood pattern, try to look at least 2 frame sides to make sure that you're not seeing a fluke, to get a kind of overall picture of what the queen's laying pattern is like. After assessing the brood laying pattern, we can try to count how many frames of brood are in the colony. For this, instead of counting a whole frame, we'll think of them as sides of a frame sides. There are 20 frame sides per box. When we remove a frame, we just want to assess if the frame has at least a certain threshold amount of brood on it, if we want to consider it a frame. A rough estimate would be if there's the same amount of brood coverage as about the size of a 6-inch Subway sandwich. This side does have at least that much, so we would call this 1 frame side of brood. This side also does, so it would be considered 1 as well. If a frame only were to have this much, for example, we would not consider it a frame side of brood. Done. Now you will do the mite count. Prepare your easy check if you haven't already.
Oh, shoot, guys.
It should have been sterilized with 10% bleach water from the last time that you used it. Open the rubbing alcohol if you haven't done so already, and then fill the bottom of the easy check with alcohol until it covers the bottom of the basket. Note the lines in the basket. The lower line shows the fill to height for 200 bees, and the upper line is for 300 bees. We want the upper line. To get bees for the easy check, choose a frame of sealed brood. If you always choose a frame of sealed brood, you will avoid data confusion over what brood stage has the most mites. You will also be more likely to avoid mite washing the queen. Look for the queen on the frame and remove her if you find her on that frame. Shake the bees into the catch pan. You can shake the pan a little to consolidate the bees into a clump and keep them from flying off. Then you can scoop the bees with a measuring cup, or you can pour them directly into the easy check. Try to get it to the line for 300 bees. Then screw on the lid and shake and swirl the bees for 60 seconds. You do not have to shake hard. In some cases, rubbing alcohol can foam up. If you have that kind of alcohol, shake more gently and add another 30 seconds to the shaking. You can also reference the instructions that come with the easy check. Remove the basket, discard the bees, and count the mites that are in the bottom of the bucket part. Record this number on your field sheet. There are 2 mites in this sample per 300 bees. Now, you will use the other side of the field sheet to collect data from the beekeeper. This involves a simple interview with the beekeeper asking about their mite monitoring and mite control methods, bee feeding, honey harvest, queen information, and the origin of the hive. You can also have the beekeeper fill this out for you while you're doing the inspection.
Do you monitor for mites?
Yes.
How often?
monthly, I'd say.
When was your last Varroa monitoring?
Probably last week.
The last step in the process is to enter your data on the online form. You can do this on site at the end of the day or whenever you have time. If you don't have time to enter it onto the online form, you can send the paper sheets to Adam Dolzel. This concludes the focal inspection training. If you have questions, call the study lead, Eleanor Schumacher. Thank you and enjoy your summer.